Thank you so much for joining my YouTube channel. Super stoked. Of course, I'd love to have you subscribe. That'd be fantastic. Be really magnificent. And we're starting a new series called Shady People. Shady People. You ever run into or meet people that are like, hey, that guy's kind of shady, or that chick, she's a little, something's off, you know? And it's just shady people. And the Bible has shady people. You're like, what do you mean by that? Well, shady is sometimes an individual who seems like you don't trust them. Maybe they have kind of a bad background, or they have a history of, bad choices. And a lot of times we want to avoid shady people, or maybe you're watching and you're like, I'm a shady person. And I want to speak today and speak in this series about shady people, because the Bible has, quote unquote, shady people. And so the first one I want us to look at today, we're just going to do one each week and find some interesting things and awareness. The first shady person I want to talk about today is Rahab. Rahab. So, like, who's Rahab? Well, she's in Joshua, and the book of Joshua. And the deal is, she was lived in the city of Jericho. And the Israelites were coming and starting to march into the promised land. Give you some context here. March into the promised land. They had been liberated from Egypt, slavery in Egypt. They had wandered in the wilderness for 40 years with Moses. Moses was dead, and now Joshua is leading them. And they're going into the promised land to take and conquer this land to make it their own country. But one of the first hurdles, obstacles they come up to, is the city of Jericho. And it's a giant walled city. And what Joshua does is he sends spies into the city and around the city to figure out, what are some weak spots. And these two spies, Israelite spies, they come to the city of Jericho, and they meet this lady named Rahab. And the Bible tells you right out of the gate, and this is in Joshua chapter 2, that she's a prostitute. She's a sex worker. She's a woman of the night, whatever you want to call her. And sometimes people have this idea that, prostitutes or sex workers, they're shady, they have immoral values, and, lots and lots of ideas run around in our heads about prostitutes or sex workers. For my work with Saving Moses, we do something called night care, and we look after the babies and toddlers of sex workers in developing countries. So I get to be around shady moms, fairly often, and I appreciate who these moms are. And if all we do is look at somebody's profession and we judge them based off their profession, we might miss an opportunity to connect in a meaningful way. And these two spies, they came to Rahab's house and they stayed with her. And you're like, what does that mean? The Bible just says they spent the night there, and I don't think anything shady happened. But there is an agreement that was made between these spies and Rahab. Rahab hid them, kept them safe from getting, sought out from the king. And the spies, by doing that, the spies agreed, when we come to conquer this city, we'll leave you alive, you and your household. So the spies go back to Joshua, and they report to him, this is what happened, and we met this chick named Rahab, and we told her that we would protect her when we conquer the city. So fast forward, Joshua chapter 6, Israelites march around the city of Jericho 7 times, and all the walls fall, but Rahab is rescued. And it's interesting because of all the people that lived in the city, Rahab, who's the shady person, she's rescued, she's redeemed, she's saved, and she joins the Israelite nation and is integrated into them. But she was, quote unquote, a shady person. And I just want to encourage you that no matter what your background is, no matter what's happened in your past, or you look at somebody and you're like, that's a shady person. Let's never close the door on redemption, on God reconciling, on God joining, shady people joining us to God's heart, because that's who God is. So just because somebody has a shady past, you have a shady past, but they're not beyond the power, the grace, and the love of God. God loves shady people. And you might be watching and say, well, that's me. Or you might think, well, I wonder, does God really love that? He's shady. God loves people, no matter what. Shady or not shady, God loves people. So thank you so much for watching. Of course, if you subscribe, hit that little button there, or the bell right there, so that you can get the notifications. Give me some feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down, leave some comments. I really appreciate the comments. And finally, I know you're like, we need our joke. We need our joke. I agree. We definitely need our joke, and this is a really good one. So, how do locomotives, like train locomotives, how do they hear? Through their engineers. Engine ears. I know. So great. Next week will be way better. Thanks again for watching.